homeless.
We stop by a local language center that's doing things a bit differently.
And we see how UT's film school is incorporating new technologies into their coursework.
All this and more coming up on Good Morning Texas.
Good morning, Texas. I'm Tina Rico.
And I'm Cassandra Jaramillo. Thank you for joining us on this glorious Wednesday morning.
So how are you this morning?
I am doing great, Tina. I've always loved Wednesdays because it's like I've made it halfway through the week, so I just have the rest of the half to go through. What about you?
Pretty good. The weather this morning is a little, I don't know about it. I hope it doesn't rain like yesterday.
Yeah.
It was a little tricky.
Yeah. We always need those showers, though.
A new $14 million development in East Austin is focusing on housing the homeless. Lukman Adaney reports on how the nonprofit Mobile Loaves and Fishes is using the project to spread a message of support.
Community First Village puts a special value on the word neighbor and what it means to own a home. The small community is a Christian-based housing project working to create new opportunities for Austin's homeless.
This mission is about drawing people in that have been kicked to the fringes of our society and welcoming them back in to a place that they can call home.
Community First Village sits on 27 acres of land with an amphitheater and plans for a market and medical clinic. At the village, the formerly homeless receive job training and the responsibility to pay a $225 to $360 rent. But most important to them, they gain a new support system.
I have neighbors now. If I needed to borrow some food, I could go to a neighbor and they're going to do their best. Before, didn't really have one. If my car broke down, I couldn't count on anyone to come get me. I know some of my neighbors now would come help me. Yeah.
Outside volunteers are invited to visit the village near Decker Lane and Hogeye Road in East Austin. Some missionaries also gave up their homes in the city to be a part of the close-knit community. One architect who designed one of the micro homes is planning to move in.
This project is less of a treatment for the homelessness problem and more of just like a redefinition of how to live life in a community.
Community First Village organizers expect to reach their full capacity of 250 people by early next year. Lukman Adaney, Good Morning Texas.
That seems like a very interesting project. It's nice to see the outpouring of support to create this community.
Absolutely, and I think everyone should try to volunteer some time in helping not only at this nonprofit but other homeless shelters, of course, and contributing back to our communities. And if you're not spending time volunteering, you could be spending time learning a new language, which of course we all know learning a foreign language can be quite the task. And let's face it, it's pretty tedious. Sometimes taking the easy way out seems like the best way to go, but our reporter Chelsea Marino went to see how one language school makes learning a new language an immersive experience.
The Freestyle Language Center redefines the conventional way people are learning foreign languages.
Sitting in front of a computer and just repeating phrases doesn't have the same effect.
Even on a normal class day, the Freestyle Language Center seeks to engage its students through fun and interactive activities.
In one game during a Spanish class, they conferred in teams describing figures and objects to be thrown overboard or saved.
Without using the language in relevant context, you really can't learn it as well. And so, although we have our courses during the week in the evenings, it's using the language in the events that's important.
He says, hurry. Y tengo sueño.
Students in the classes view the way they're being taught as an enjoyable opportunity for advancement.
When you're abroad and really connect with people a lot better than trying to just get by in English. People see that you're making an attempt to learn their language.
Classes in Spanish, Italian, French, and Portuguese have proven success, and the center is confident in their hands-on method.
It's really exciting. It really continues to encourage not only the students, it encourages me. I feed off of that energy. And it's just, freestyle is a very energetic, a very fun, a very social place for that reason.
Freestyle's owner says it is fun, effective, and never too late to go back and learn. Chelsea Moreno, Good Morning Texas.
So I am so happy that when I was young, my parents made sure to teach me Spanish, because I can't imagine learning at the age of 22 a whole new language.
Yeah, of course. I think it's been really beneficial to know a second language, especially when you go to places that you might encounter people that only speak that language, and to be able to communicate with them and not have to just be in that awkward stance where you don't know how to tell them what you need, or anything like that.
Absolutely.
So I think this project is really, really good. Many experts believe 2016 may be the watershed year for virtual reality. The University of Texas at Austin has incorporated VR and 3D into its UT 3D program in order to teach students about the new technologies. Our Gina Chung has more on the story.
On the screen plane, if I get here, I should be coming slightly out of the screen.
UT has held its UT 3D open house to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Radio Television Film Department. The event featured a showcase of 3D films and demonstrations and introduced students to the UT 3D program funded by the Moody Foundation.
It's the only comprehensive 3D production program in the country. We began teaching VR this last fall also, which is a brand new thing that sort of continues our interest in immersive media.
The curriculum allows students to produce 3D content and explore 3D innovations.
I'd like to see our department move in a direction that uses virtual reality to enhance the human experience, or to try and help people and find ways to use it both in an educational sense and also in a way to advance any kind of sense of awareness or consciousness around certain issues.
The technology showcased at the event allowed the students to experience virtual reality and see themselves in 3D, showing them the opportunities available through UT 3D.
The class is really interesting because it doesn't just go into technicalities. I think it also talks about theory and why you would use virtual reality as opposed to just doing it to be, flashy or trying to be edgy with the type of work that you're putting out.
The program is open to all majors, and students who complete the 2 required courses plus an internship or the immersive media course will earn a certificate. Students are encouraged to enroll in the courses if they have an interest in the future of 3D and virtual reality.
Gina Chung, Good Morning, Texas.
I'm really excited to see what students come up with this 3D technology. It'd be really nice to see, what kind of videos they come.
Absolutely. The technology is changing tremendously in the film industry, and before we've had amazing alums come out of the program. Yeah. So I can only imagine the future stars that we'll have. And when we come back, your top stories and a look at this week's weather.
Kippy here for Good Morning Texas.
Welcome back to Good Morning Texas. In our news and weather studio today, we have our very own Cameron Sines to fill us in. Here are the latest stories.
Thanks, guys. Well, on Tuesday in a press conference, the House of Representatives Speaker Paul Ryan put to rest rumors that he would take a presidential nomination if none of the current candidates received the required number of delegates. Ryan stated, quote, "Let me be clear, I do not want nor will I accept the Republican nomination." Ryan felt the need to address this issue as chairman of the Republican National Convention and referred to his belief in the integrity and rules of the nomination process in reference to the fact that he has not participated in the primary elections. Political pundits believe that if the convention was to be brokered after the controversial GOP primary race, Ryan would be the one to take the nomination. Although he denied this rumor, he expressed his strong intentions to work just as hard as Speaker of the House. On Monday, U.S. Navy Lieutenant Commander John Harkins spoke about his experience last week in which his team rescued 3 men stranded on a Micronesian island. The men's boat had capsized in the route from an island called Wino to their home island Pulap. They swam to the closest uninhabited island and were soon reported missing. With the help of an infrared camera, the Navy crew located the castaways when they saw their help sign spelled out on the beach with palm fronds. The stranded men initially believed that they hadn't been seen waving their life jackets, but after a few passovers, the crew dropped a smoke signal and called for a boat rescue from the island of Pulap that was just 5 miles away. Harkins said his crew followed the men back to their island and rocked their plane wings on the way out as if to say goodbye. On Monday, UT President Fenves communicated to students in an email the ways in which Hadaka Weiser is being honored after her tragic death. He mentioned the Dance Repertory Theater's tribute in their performance of Bodies and Souls, of which Hadaka had been involved, as well as the moment of silence before this weekend's Longhorn Run. In addition, there's been a Hadaka Weiser Memorial Fund created for the family that students can donate to or send messages of condolence to honoringhanukkah@gmail.com. Fenves ensured the expansion of the Sure Walk program by UT's Campus Safety and Security Division and the Texas Department of Public Safety. He closed the email by urging Longhorns to continue to support each other and to stay focused on the things that matter most in our lives.
Thanks, Cameron. And on behalf of Good Morning Texas, we would definitely like to extend our condolences to the Weiser family. I urge everyone to go to the Bodies and Souls performance. I went on the opening night and it was absolutely beautiful. You could just feel everyone in that room really get in touch with the dance department and how passionate they performed and how they will perform throughout the week.
Yeah, I can just imagine. I just hope that family, friends, and the UT community can start to heal moving forward. But as we continue this week for school, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather. So how's the weather this week, Cameron?
Well, unfortunately, it looks like our good weather streak is coming to an end, with some showers and storms scattered throughout the weekend. Make sure to keep your umbrellas or ponchos handy today as you walk to class with a 60% chance of rain. The high will be 74, and the rain will bring us down to a brisk 52. Tomorrow might offer us a reprieve with the forecast of sunny skies, although keeping us moderately cool with a high of 78 and a low of 57. Fingers crossed that it stays sunny on Friday with a high of 81 and a low of 54. But get your outdoor fun in on Friday because Saturday brings more clouds with a high of 76 and low of 66, continuing into an even more stormy Sunday with a high of 74 and a low of 64. So stay on your toes this weekend, Longhorns, because this weather is all over the place. Welcome to Texas. Back to you guys.
It really has been all over the place. The other day it was so hot by the afternoon, and then this morning it feels like very breezy and cool. But you know what? Like Cameron said, that is Texas for you.
I know, like you mentioned the other day when it was so hot, me and Kylie were actually expecting it to be so warm yesterday, and it started raining on us when we were out in our stories. So when we come back, our reporters learned some new tricks when they visit Austin Stunt Ranch.
Keep it here for more Good Morning Texas.
Welcome back. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be a professional stunt person? Kylie Badgley and I visited a stunt ranch and got the behind-the-scenes look at what goes into stunts for films produced right here in Austin.
Hi, we're here at Stunt Ranch today. We're going to talk to some stuntmen and see what goes into their line of work in making stunts for movies.
And we're going to get to try out some stunts as well.
Let's go check it out.
2, 1. My most favorite is the explosions, because you know, even though it looks messy because you got to put on the fire gels and all this stuff, but it's the effect it has on camera when you see it. It's like, wow, it's quite something to see it.
Cabral said fear is good in stunt work.
If you don't have a little fear in you, there's something wrong. You know, there's got to be something wrong. You just have to overcome the fear and realize you're dealing with professionals, and as long as you do what you're trained to do, you'll be safe. It's when if you let the fear get the most of you and you start to hesitate and do something you're not supposed to, that's when you get hurt.
Cabral let us try out some stuff too. He said the bag we are jumping onto can support a fall from about 15 stories. We also got to try some zip lining. Cabral said at the ranch they try to include adults, kids of all ages, and those with disabilities.
I'm going to put my feet up, right? So I should like keep it lower. Oh boy.
First, get away. Okay, you ready?
No. Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
I started Stunt Ranch because I wanted to have a place where people could go to experience the adventure of stunts and also to experience the science that goes behind it. So we have corporate groups come out here that want team building and they just want to feel like stunt people for a day and jump off towers and see explosions. And then we have school field trips come out here where we have kids getting a chance to see how much science, physics, chemistry goes into setting up the stunts and special effects they see on movies. We strike our favorite pose in 3, 2, 1. And that's the way they do it in the movie.
For Good Morning Texas,
Kylie Badgley
and Tina Rico.
Kylie and I had so much fun yesterday out there. Would you do any of the stunts that we had to do?
Absolutely not. I am such a scaredy cat. I get scared going up the stairs at below and looking down, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna fall. So I am so amazed by your bravery and Kylie's bravery.
It was pretty crazy. I have to admit, when I got up there, I was like, I don't know if I can do this, guys.
Well, the zip lining looked fun. I could maybe do that.
Yeah, that one was
Possibly.
a little easier. It was a little easier than the free fall.
Yes. Well, when we come back, next year's UT Student Government President and Vice President Kevin Hilgren and Bina Kim join us in studio. Stay tuned for some more Good Morning Texas. Welcome back to Good Morning Texas. In studio today we have our newly elected President and Vice President of Student Government, Kevin Hilgren and Bina Kim. Thank you so much for being here today.
Of course.
Of course.
Thanks for having us.
So since this is your first time on Good Morning Texas, I would love for our viewers to just get a bit of knowledge of who you guys are outside of student government. We'll start with you, Kevin.
Sure. So my name is Kevin Hilgren, and I'm a fourth year studying neuroscience and psychology through the Liberal Arts Honors Program. And I went to high school about 20 minutes up the road, so originally from Austin.
Yeah.
And prior to joining student government, I was fairly involved in Texas 4000, Longhorn Band, Camp Texas, and as a student ambassador in the Office of Admissions.
Great. What about you, Bina?
Cool. So I'm a junior marketing major in the business school from Plano, Texas. As a freshman, heavily involved in my sorority, Kappa Delta, and then also the Undergraduate Business Council. And I was also the counselor for Ignite Texas. So a couple different things across campus.
Yeah, so very involved across different organizations on campus, which is great. So let's talk a little bit about this election. What were your thoughts on a little bit about how it extended longer than usual, let's say?
Sure. Initially, to be completely honest, we were somewhat frustrated. We had spent a lot of time preparing for a 2-week process.
Absolutely.
And to know that that 2-week process was being extended to a 6-week process was a tough pill to swallow. But I think in hindsight, looking back on the situation, the momentum that our team continued to carry forward with them was really inspiring and really hopeful. And it obviously all worked out for the best in the end.
Yeah, I think it was, the hardest part is you're working so long and for a long time and you're waiting for the results to kind of gauge how you're doing, because I think you plan and you think of your campaign and your platform points, and then you need to know if that's actually connecting with the students. So when we got to the first election results and we didn't get any numbers or any affirmation from that was hard, but I think, I mean, big picture, we're fine. We're happy with the results.
Absolutely. And so going back, the first election that was held where the results were validated because of a situation with due process that the election supervisory board found. Through an open information request, the Texan learned that you guys, in fact, would have been in a runoff election. What were your thoughts on that with leading? I mean, you guys didn't get the majority of the votes, but it would have been pretty much the same exact situation that we saw in the second election.
Sure. I think that it was kind of what we were expecting as far as a runoff was concerned, given that there were 4 incredibly qualified teams running for Executive Alliance. We didn't necessarily think that one team was going to take the majority the first time around. But I guess, to be frank, we were pretty happy with the results of the open records request. It was nice to know that our hard work paid off all 3 times that we asked for the student body to vote. And in looking back, we're happy.
Yeah, I think, I mean, there could be frustration if there was no need for that second election then, because it would have been the same exact race. But I think if it gave anyone a peace of mind that everything was done correctly the first time through, then I think it was worth doing another election. So.
Absolutely. And so, Kevin, throughout this election, a lot of legislation records were being used as like touting who is, experienced and qualified to hold these positions. And it was said that you had the the shortest legislation record in student government.
Sure.
But in conversations that we've had and in interviews that we've done, you said that besides legislation, there's so much to be done in student government. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Absolutely. I think a pretty common preconceived notion that students carry about student government is that it is a legislation writing machine and nothing more. And I think through our campaign, Bina and I really tried to challenge that notion.
Absolutely.
Yes, legislation is important. Yes, it carries to some extent a particular amount of weight. But looking beyond that, student government has the capacity to make really incredible and positive change happen on this campus without necessarily having a piece of paper to precede that process, right? I think just in our first week, Bina and I are learning that there's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into making this change on campus happen. So outside of writing legislation, I guess the message that we want to send is that student government is more than that, right? On this notion of experience, I think that it's important to look beyond the scope of student government. We talked a little bit about our involvement across different parts of campus, and just because we haven't been heavily involved in the center of student government doesn't mean that we're not adequately prepared to take the positions and do what we can with them.
Absolutely. Any extra thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when those criticisms started coming out about Kevin, I was thinking to myself, like, well, if they're going to criticize Kevin, I don't have any pieces of legislation, you know? And so I think, but with the positions of student body president and vice president, if precedent is set that they need student government experience, I think that's a really vicious precedent to set, because there's only so few members of the assembly, so if you're expecting to choose a student body president or vice president from that small pool of people, it's not going to be representative of the student body. So I think I am really glad that the students didn't, obviously legislation is a great experience, it's a positive thing, but definitely not the only data point that should be considered.
Yep.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some goals that you have for your upcoming year as president and vice president.
Yes.
Sure. So I think that our goals can kind of be summarized as twofold, and I'll talk about the internal side of things and pass it over to Bina for the external side of things. Internally, throughout our campaign, we focused a lot on culture change, and that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we are creating as positive of an environment as possible so that we are allowed to make that external impact.
Yeah, so externally, I guess we've had 5 platform points. The one that I want to focus on is sexual assault awareness. We've already been in contact with the Not On My Campus chapter of Alabama, who got started from the Texas chapter. So I've been really involved with that since it was brought here to UT, and we're really, one of our solutions is to bring it to the national light. So we've already started communicating with the president of Alabama and then a lot of different universities, just making sure we're all on the same page, and we've got some plans coming up of really uniting as college students across the country, because sexual assault is obviously an issue that plagues all universities. So.
And I know we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Sure.
But for students who want to keep up with the work that you're doing, obviously
Social media is probably the best way to connect with you guys.
Yep.
What's your handles? Or
Absolutely. So we have our campaign handles. So the Facebook page is Kevin and Bina 2016, and then Instagram and Twitter is KevinBina_2016. One other thing, our personal information is all over the place, right? So seriously, text us, email us. We are more than happy to grab a cup of coffee and have conversations with students about issues that they want to see brought to the table.
Absolutely. Well, I'm wishing you guys all the best of luck in this upcoming year. And I want to thank you again for coming into the studio today to chat with us and fill in all our viewers on the goals that you have for your presidency and vice presidency. And again, thank you so much for watching Good Morning Texas. For updates, follow us on Twitter at Good Morning TX. Have a good morning.